Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock. It's Tuesday night, and June is underway. Can you believe it? It's already June. Wow. And baseball, well, it's front page. The draft last night, the draft today. I am not ready to discuss all of that yet because I've got a show I'm preparing probably later in the week to talk about the finality of the draft, so we'll sort of hold off on that. But we do have some news, and so let's just jump right in. The water's good. Let's talk about the lead story today, I think, in fantasy and reality, is what's going to happen to Andrew McCutchen. You know, the former MVP, and last night, I don't know if you saw it or not, but here's the scenario. You've got Juan Segura at the plate, the right-handed shortstop. He hits a pop-up to second base. Second baseman sees that Segura falls down coming out of the batter's box. McCutchen's on first base, so he lets the ball drop for an easy double play. Kinsler throws the ball to first base to retire Segura. Then McCutchen's in a rundown, and in the process of the rundown, he injures his knee. He's helped off the field, and after the game, here's what he had to say.
This didn't feel like that. But when I did it in high school, I was playing football and I got hit. So that's the difference. And this time I did something on my own, so I don't know necessarily if that's good or what, but it wasn't something that, I felt like was so much pain that I can't, bear it. I just knew, I just didn't feel too good.
Got a left knee sprain. We'll know more tomorrow after an MRI. And that's all I have for you on that.
So as of the time going on the air, I've been looking all afternoon to find out about the MRI results. Nothing has shown up. That second voice you heard was Phillies manager Gabe Kapler. Of course, he said the initial diagnosis was a sprain. So now we're all waiting to hear about the MRI that was performed today. So here you go. McCutchen. He's not the MVP that he once was, right? Certainly not. But he's an on-base percentage machine in Philadelphia. And I know their offense has been sputtering lately. However, he's on a team where he leads off, or was leading off. He was playing center field. And certainly that's a loss. That's a huge loss. And so now, with that loss in mind, what do? Well, they call up a rookie. 2 days ago they signed Jay Bruce, right? And guys, if you'll someone let me know how my sound is, I'd appreciate it, okay? But they signed Jay Bruce through a trade. And so last night, early this morning, they announced that Adam Haseley will join the Phillies as a result of the knee injury. Okay, so here's the question, right? Who's Adam Haseley? There you go. Who is he? Well, let me tell you a little bit about him, all right? He was the 8th overall pick in the 2017 amateur draft. Okay, chappie, sound is good. Thank you very much. 2017 8th overall pick, first round draft pick of the Phillies, okay? He started the year at Double-A, called up about a week ago to Triple-A. He's hit .275 with 7 home runs and 178 minor league at-bats. Great prospect. He's a left-handed bat, runs pretty well, and I'll give you a little more background on him, okay? He helped the First Academy in Florida win the National High School Invitational back in 2014. He went on to be one of the top 2A players in college. He played outfield and pitched for the University of Virginia for 3 years, okay? He signed with the Phillies for an above pick value of $5.1 million. He reached Double-A in his first full season of pro ball. What that tells us is this kid can play, okay? He was a contact first hitter for most of his college career. His stock soared when his power from the left side started to show up as a junior, all right? He has the ability to barrel the ball, send it to all fields, doesn't strike out a ton, draws walks. He's an above-average runner. He can stay in center field long term. All right? So, there you go. Now, I looked to see if the Philly lineup was out. I didn't see it out. They play late tonight. He is their number 3 prospect, and he now looks like he may be the starter in center field. Is it going to be short term? Is it going to be long term? Well, a few things factor in there, right? First of all, McCutchen's health is a big factor. If it's long term, then if Haseley hits, he may be the man. Let's wait and see, okay? But those are some things to look at, and we'll see how he performs. But he's certainly got the pedigree, and with that pedigree in place, here's the thing. The Phillies are struggling. And we talked about the standings yesterday. Of course, they were off. But the Phillies have lost 5 in a row. And Kapler, not in a good mood after the game. Very short with the press on that segment I just played about Andrew McCutchen. They were leading Atlanta by a few games going into the weekend. That lead is basically gone. They're in a virtual tie for first place. They hit just 168, 21 for 125 over the last 4 games. Aaron Nola, the ace, got rocked for 6 runs and 5 1/3 Monday night. So it's not good times for the Phillies. Okay? Not good times for the Phillies. And now with McCutchen going down, that only makes it worse. So we'll come back to that in a moment. But that's just the lead story today. And if you hear anything or know anything about McCutchen's injury, please let me know. Again, like we talk about on the morning shows, if you have any questions about players, we're going to talk about those. I got some rookie prospects to talk about. I got some veterans to talk about on the show tonight. Just to look at our schedule, following me is Phil Chappie's Fantasy Chat, 7 o'clock. Chappie, I will be off in plenty of time for your show at 7, promise. Lenny's scheduled to be on at 8 this morning. Andrea did a great job at 9 o'clock, filling in for Lenny. I think he had an appointment. Hope everything's okay. At 9, Chappie and I are going to be talking trades. If you want to talk trades with us, then give us some questions or give us some players, and we'll try to come up with something for you. And at 10 o'clock tonight, Easy's in with the round table. Tomorrow morning at 9, Lenny leads off. I bat second at 10 o'clock, and Suicide Squeeze comes in at 11. So a lot of great programming for you. Support your podcasters. Let them know you're in the chat room. Talk to us, because we love it when you talk to us. We love to know you're there. We love to know questions that you have. I can get more excited if you talk to me. I promise. Not that I'm not excited now. I want to get right into some prospects and some Arnie predictions on when we may see players. And oh my gosh, when is Yordan Alvarez ever coming up? Is anybody frustrated about that like I am? I mean, I added this guy like a month ago. He now has 21 home runs in the minor leagues. Okay? 21. He's been intentionally walked 9 times. The 3rd most in all of baseball. Christian Yelich, for example, has been walked intentionally 12 times. His Super 2 deadline has got to be either here or just around the corner. And of course, we know about the injuries to Carlos Correa. And his natural position is really first base. So, yeah, free Yordan. I'm with you on that one, Chappie. Free Yordan. But with his natural position first base, doesn't this make sense? Move Yuli Gurriel, who has played second, who has played third. Move Bregman to shortstop. Put that bat in the lineup and watch him go. Oh my gosh. Kyle Tucker, another on my short list. It's about time to see him. He's really been hitting hot of late. Okay? Kyle Tucker finished the month of May, hitting .333 at AAA with 11 home runs and 8 stolen bases. He's a good outfielder. George Springer's going to be out a few weeks with this grade 2 hamstring. So you got Derek Fisher and Miles Straw. Now, Chappie, we've talked about Miles Straw. I like Miles Straw, but I'm not crazy about Derek Fisher. So can't you just see with Super 2 either now or sometime? And I think by Friday somebody's up. They play the Orioles this weekend in Houston. What a great time to bring a kid up to play the Orioles, right? The question is, will you see both of them come Friday? Another player that came up and struggled, I mean really struggled. I think his first at bat he hit a home run. Carter Kieboom. You know, he was cold his final week in May in going back down to the minors, but he has hit 5 home runs since going back to AAA. Do you see Washington as a seller? Yeah, I like that. Chappie, I like it. Fisher's on a short leash, and you could see Tucker and Alvarez hitting 3 and 4 in the order. I got it. I think it's time. I think it's this week. But what about Carter Kieboom? Do you see Washington as a seller? I do. I was talking to my brother today. We're both big Yankee fans, and we were talking about how, what if Mad Max went to the Yankees? They sent over some bats, maybe a Clint Frazier, okay, and a package of players, of course. But Washington could be full sale mode, and they got Rendon, who's going to be leaving at the end of the year in all likelihood. So why not bring Carter Kieboom back up if they're going to be sellers? Don't you think they'd be better off with Kieboom at second and Brian Dozier somewhere else? Work through whatever issues he's got. Imagine him with some major league experience going into next year. Now that all, I think, hinges on, is Washington a seller as we get closer to the trade deadline? And remember, the trade deadline this year is a novel act. That's right. In previous years, you could trade freely up through July 31st, and then after July 31st, you could make trades through waivers through the end of August. That's not happening anymore. Trades are over, over July 31st. Here we are already in the first week of June. So we've only got, 8 or 9 weeks starting right now of trades. Okay? So 8 or 9 weeks from now, the trade deadline is going to be over, so teams will have to make decisions. Are we buyers? Are we sellers? The Nationals have got to get moving in the right direction so that we know where they stand. Now, Phil Chappie just said Atlanta and Philly are the cream of the crop in that division. Totally agree. Washington, though, if you look at it now, a few days ago, we were talking about the Nats being 10 games out. So they're really in that precarious position of, are we going to be buyers or are we going to be sellers? And here's why. The National League East, as we sit here today, with the Phillies having lost 5 straight, they lead the Braves by half a game. They lead the Mets by 4.5 games. And the Washington Nationals are only 6.5 games out. Scherzer struck out 15 Sunday, guys. Okay? Manager comes out. And Scherzer says, go back to the dugout. I'm not coming out of this game. I'm tired of losing games to my bullpen. I'm going to go as long as I can. So what does Scherzer do? He goes 8 innings. He strikes out 15. He owns the game. And if Scherzer has a chip on his shoulder, woe unto the National League East when he's pitching. Now the question is, are they interested at all in Craig Kimbrell? Of all the teams that have been discussed, of all the teams who may want to add a free agent arm, of all the teams, is there a team who could benefit more from Craig Kimbrell right now than the Washington Nationals? I don't think so. I mean, the Braves, sure, they would benefit, but the Braves have competent relievers. That bullpen in Washington, it's bad. It's nightmarishly, thunderstormishly bad in Washington. And it seems like they get players in that role and then they trade them away. Oh my gosh. But what they have now is not working. I agree, Chappie, the Cubs would benefit. But who has had a poorer bullpen, both middle and end of it, than the Washington Nationals? I mean, look at Scherzer's record. Okay? Shall we do that for just a moment? Can we do that for just a moment? I mean, Scherzer